today's workshop, we'll be creating Japanese confectionery-inspired desserts. So we will need some pre-made dough balls. I am creating mine from white beans. For the filling, you can get very creative. I'm using dates, but you can also use truffles or raisins or nuts, whatever you want, and some small tools to be able to work the dough. So I'm just showing you how I'll be making a little round flat pancake from my dough. For the colors, I used some natural beetroot powder, some matcha powder, as well as turmeric to create natural coloring, but you can also use food dye. So the dough can be very interesting because we are doing an inspiration-based video, so you can use marzipan or even the rolled icing to create these desserts. Japanese confectionery, also called wagashi, are types of desserts that are created in Japan. We are in particular looking at the Japanese Nerikiri Wagashi, which is a dessert that is a lot of the time presented in tea ceremony and as well as other occasions. But it's made from shiro-an, or also white bean paste, and also red bean paste in the middle. So I did use white beans. I used canned cannellini beans, and I made a paste out of them, which then I fused with some glutinous rice flour or a bit of mochi, and then I blended everything together to create this dough. And when it's cooled down, it was completely pliable, and I could work with it. So I covered my date, which is the filling, with this dough, and I am going to be creating a flower from it. So I've created a sort of flat area. You can create really whatever you want, but I'm going to show a few techniques that you can use in your creations from your fantasy. So a good thing to do is to use something like a toothpick or something that would be able to make dents, and then you can work around the edges to create this sort of leaf pattern, which I think is really cool. And then we can make some dents and holes and little fillings around to create this. If you saw, I added a little bit of red dough in the middle, so as to sometimes when you're working with the dough and it stretches along or you make dents, you can see the coloring coming through in a very gentle way, which I think is very pleasing to the eye. You can also blend the different colors that you have created to create new colors, which I think is also very creative. I will put a link below to show you how you can make this dough and how you can make different colors with it. What is really interesting about Japanese confectionery is probably the presentation, because it is not just food that they try to show. It's something that they really try to create that would represent appealing presentation, and I think it is very much artistic and a lovely activity to create with your family, your kids, your friends, because it is a creative activity that you can really submerge yourself into, and at the end of the day, you can actually eat it. So it's not going to go to waste. You're going to have a great time. You can also create something for your friends or visitors, and it is most likely something you might have not tried before, because it is a very traditional thing in Japan. Why I also really like these desserts in particular is when I was creating them, I could have control over the amount of sugar and different color additives or anything that I wanted to put in it. I had complete control over it, and because the dough is made out of beans, I knew that I was consuming something which is healthy and good for me. Being creative and making desserts from vegetables not only from, fats and sugars and, other types of carbohydrates. I can make a dessert made from vegetables. I think it'd be just as easy to create this recipe using sweet potato or yam or some kind of other different starchy paste. For our next creation, I am using the color green, which you can see I created it using green tea matcha powder, and it actually had a slight flavor of it. I am creating a leaf, and I will be creating a small design of an apple. So for this leaf, I decided to go for a slightly bigger flat leaf design with sort of spiky edges. So you can see this is the process of creating this. I'd say is as simple as working with plastiline or something similar. So you can really become creative with what you're making. But I went for the same design that they used in Japan to create smaller, round, quite delicate looking desserts. If using the same recipes as they use in Japan to create this, it would be a dessert that has a very soft texture on the outside, which is sweet, but has a sort of springiness and slight stretchiness, because the glutinous rice flour, which sounds like it would have gluten, which it doesn't, is quite a stretchy and bouncy texture by itself. So when you fuse it with the bean paste, it gives it a stretchy, bouncy feeling, which is also very soft. And actually, when people are creating, in Japan, when people are creating dango or dango paste, they knead the dough until they say that when you squish the dough between two of your fingers and it feels like your earlobe, then it's done. So you can imagine a sort of almost fleshy sort of feeling of the dough, soft and not tough at all. Mine was slightly more tough, I think, because I didn't add much sugar at all to mine, which I depended on my date in the middle. I think creating food is a very creative process in itself, and it doesn't have to be just desserts. That's why I decided to create this video about making desserts, because in the end of the day, we eat about 3 times, if not more, a day. And to be able to consume the nutrition that we need every day, we have to consume a variety of food. And in Japanese culture, people really try to present those colors and that food in a pleasant way, because it becomes part of the process of you eating, the pleasure of it. For our third creation, I am fusing the lighter color and my beetroot powder color of the dough together to create a light pink. Because I am going to create a peach, I wanted a slightly pastel-y color for my design. And this is a very simple design. It's a round sort of falling raindrop shape base, which then will have a little indent, which looks like a peach bottom. And then I will add a little leaf, which would accompany the whole design. There are many different dessert types in Japan that are just as equally lovely in their appearance and shape, but I decided to pick this one because this is one of the probably most creative designs that you can engage with. The others might require a bit more work on the cooking aspect, but even the chefs that are creating these by themselves in person, because you have to consume this in a day or two, because it's one of those kind of foods that it doesn't last long in the flavor and texture if you leave it in the fridge. So when the chefs are creating it, they usually create them in person right next to you, and you can watch them create it, and there's so many different ones that you can see them make. So for some final decorations, I am just adding a few sprinkles of the beetroot powder, a little bit of some powdered sugar, as well as some green tea matcha powder. And here we go. We have this beautiful creation of confectionery Japanese-inspired dessert. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it and have fun.